to the end. The end of the morally reprehensible films. We've got the silent era for this list. The silent era is a gorgeous era for film fans. Because before film was corrupted by sound and 3D and all that stuff. Or colour. You know, all those horrible things. Before, if it was allowed to be as depraved as I wanted, before the Hays Codes. So, okay, the number one is fairly obvious. But we'll get to that. I have not put it on the thumbnail to avoid going to number one. Because I think we all know what number one has to be. Right, number 10 is Dr Mabuse The Gambler, Fritz Lang's film. One of two from Fritz Lang in this list. You know, Fritz Lang is a bit of a misanthrope. Dr Mabuse The Gambler is morally reprehensible because it's about the villain. The villain's in the title, and it's the first film with a villain where, even though this police characters try to get him, and he does get caught at the end, it's basically a massively long film about a villain and all his plots, and enjoying all the plots of how he destroys society and makes all this money and does all these crimes, and it's so gleefully on the side of the villain and having fun with the villain in a way that filmmaking never get over. But this is the original one. This is the one that really kind of cemented it. There were other ones before, like vampires and things that had that idea of doing films with villains, but this is the one where it was just like so much joy in the filmmaking about the villain. It's like he's a master of disguise. He does this, that, and everything. He's got all these spies all working for him. He's an absolute lunatic. He's a total fascist. He's awful in every way. But my God, he's fun in this film. So it's gleefully morally reprehensible in all the best ways. And the way that cinema has continued ever since. Yeah, this was the most fun one on the list. Number 9 is The Cabinet of Dr Caligari. Mainly because its view of the insane is absolutely horrific. Its view of mental illness is just indefensibly hokey and weird and very much of its time, and it has even though you've got a mad professor with his monster he keeps under a leash, then it turns out he's a mad scientist and all the rest of it. It's the start of the mad scientist movies. It's the personification of the mad scientist movie and how cinema has taken science and just chucked a mad person and combined both. It's like, if you're a scientist, there's something a bit mad about you, and it made it so much fun. That's the reason why it's still a mad scientist. It's fun. People much more enjoy scientists when they're a bit mad. They just do. It's just more fun because scientists in real life are pretty boring. So this is the film that created the idea of mad science, and craziness has been something that's cartoonish, and it's something that it continues. It's just one of those things. It's like it did so much damage to lots of things, but you know, you gotta love it. Right, number 8 was Haxan Through the Ages, Witchcraft. You know, scaring all the good folk of America and Britain, and being banned and all the rest of it in places, and you know, you cannot put it in. You know, even though it's just total fear of the unknown, and oh my God, they're not Christian. Oh. You know, it's, you know, where would we be without our horror movies with our Satanists? I mean, life would be so much more boring. So, here's another one who's more reprehensible that I have to defend instantly, because it's so much fun. So much of this list is stuff that's so much fun that started early in cinema. Right. Number 7 is October, because it's a Communist Party glorifying the Communist Revolution, even though it led to millions dead. It's morally reprehensible, because if you don't know about anything about the Russian Revolution, is like the communists took it over, but it was originally a revolution against misuse by people in power. most of the people involved in it were not communists. They just wanted a better deal. But this one is the communists glorifying their participation because they hijacked the Russian Revolution and created a state that is absolutely abhorrent for half a century, at least. Yeah, plus it's boring as hell. It's not Battleship Potemkin, which is very enjoyable, very well made, and it's about the revolution itself. This is like October is actually propaganda for the state, for a state that murdered millions. So, nah, I'm not buying nice to that one. Right, number 6, Our Hospitality, a Buster Keaton film. It's based in the South, and Buster Keaton has enemies in the South because of his family, and basically he uses hospitality. So he goes to a dinner party with his enemies. They don't know that the person this when the dinner party is the person they're trying to hunt down and kill. So he then stays in the house and will not leave because he knows they cannot kill him in the house. And they're trying their best to get him out of the house, and it's all about all the kind of southern hospitality and southern vengeance. And the reason it's on the list is basically it's about a society it kind of ignores the racism of that society and all the problems in it, makes fun of it. So even though it is one of my favourite Buster Keaton films, because it's hilarious, it's really funny, it completely ignores some of the dodgier aspects. Keaton's kind of a bit bad for that. That's one of his worst qualities, is he knows the South has a romance to it and he plays on it. And the romance of the South is based on racism, so you have to kind of hit him for that one. I didn't want to go for the General, because the General's a masterpiece. But again, it's the South, romance of the South. But Our Hospitality is not a masterpiece, but for me it's damn close. And I feel a bit guilty because of what it's about, even though it's hilarious. Right, number 5 is Napoleon. Another great film that is about someone who's a bit dodgy. Napoleon Bonaparte, who it starts seeing him learn from a childhood, and the 9 hours is watching him go from childhood, where he was always a planner, to going through the army, to going through the French Revolution, to finally become the great general that would destroy half of Europe. The film stops before they get to destroying half of Europe, but it's like it stops at the point where they're going to start in the Italian campaign. But this is it's a brilliant film, but it's about a very dubious character that it never quite acknowledges that this guy is dodgy as hell. And but it's fascinating through the revolution and all the problems of it, and it shows you a society that even after the revolution it collapsed and had so many assassinations, so many executions of the formerly rich to other people who are now political enemies, and just the mess of it all. This film shows you, but it doesn't really go into the idea that Napoleon was, well, dodgy. It's a bit too much hero worshipping by quite a mile, really. So there is that. Right, number 4 is Metropolis, the second Fritz Lang one. This film spent most of Germany's film budgets on a very simplistic message that is actually pretty dodgy when you consider what I've just said about October. This is basically a left-wing film made by a guy who doesn't believe the left-wing policies he's doing, made in a state that would become racistly right-wing within a few years, written by someone who would be a supporter of the Nazi Party. Oh, God, I mean, Fritz Lang left because of the Nazis. He left the country, and he wasn't too proud of this film, ultimately. Because basically, he wanted to do a science fiction film, a future city, and the plot didn't really matter to him. And the plot now looks like it's the people rise up to create a new state, to get rid of the old, which is sort of the old German system, to replace it with, well, Nazis or communists or something. That's kind of like ideologue-driven, crazy thing of we will purify societies, because that element of we will make society better and the heart must rule over the head, which is use this sign that something horrible is going to happen in society when you start doing that. As soon as you hear that, you should be suspicious, because it's used as a sign that they're using that as an excuse to make you think that you're doing something good, but you're really doing something really horrible. It's not good. This film has so many red flags. If you look at what happened and not long afterwards, or what happened in previous past, like this was made after the Russian Revolution, when we were already seeing signs of Stalinism and all the rest, and it was not good. There was lots of problems, and they were having to kill people to make them because they wouldn't believe in communism. And I mean, doing something to say, let's not let these rich bastards get away with this, that's always good. But what do you replace it with is something you should always be looking out for as well. This film does not. So, yeah, there's dodgy implications. Again, a very good film. Again, really well made. But it was written by a future Nazi. And it spent all that money for a simplistic message. So it's got a lot of problems. Yep. Number 3 is Nosferatu. Now, the obvious problem here. Yeah, the vampire that kills all these people looks Jewish. I adore Nosferatu, but it's got an anti-Semitism problem. Nosferatu does look Jewish in this film. In the remake, with Werner Herzog, he downplays that. It looks more like a monster. And I'm not sure if even Murnau was trying to make him Jewish looking. I think he was trying to make him creepy and old looking. But the design just slightly moved into the nose, and it kind of moved into, yeah, that looks like a stereotype you don't really want. Again, it's a wonderful film. This is a brilliant film. I'm not trying to suggest that Murnau is racist, because he was a gay German who left the country and was a great artist. I kind of the feeling is that it was the production side of making this film, and I'm not sure they even noticed it so much. I don't think it doesn't feel like overtly intentional, because there's nothing else in the rest of the film that comes across as anti-Semitic. It's just the design, and that's an eye beholder. But I think it's a bit dodgy, so we have to bring it up. But another great film. There's so many of these films in this list that you should actually go watch. It's probably the best list for just going to see films. Because when we go to number 2, Un Chien Andalou, I'm pretty sure this one was made during the sound era, but it's a silent film. It's really wonderful, and it's one of those ones it's on the verge of the sound era, because Manuel came up really in the 30s. But even he was trained in the 20s. It's kind of like, I count it as a silent film, but I think it was the 30s. I can't quite remember exactly. Was it 29 it was released? It's one of those films that's on the verge. But it's a brilliant film. It's gleefully reprehensible in every possible way. I wasn't quite sure where to put it. It rips on continuity, rips on our associations between dream life and real life, and images of different body parts and how they correlate, and all of our various subconscious desires and how absurd they are. And it just takes a mickey out of everything that is civilized in humanity, and it's all the better for it. It's just amazing. So yeah, go watch it. It's just wonderful. Now, the number 1 I recommend you do not go watch, because 1, it's racist as hell, and 2, it's boring as hell. So it's Birth of a Nation. The KKK are the good guys in this film. It's I don't know how you can defend it. It's just a really bad melodrama, and it's really dodgy. It's one of those films. It's kind of like Triumph of the Will. you have to have seen it for historical purposes, but you don't need to watch it twice. It's that kind of film. Yeah, it's horrible. I've done a video on it in the past. It's a horrible film. It's offensive. It's exactly what you think it is. You know, in the sense of it uses a hero narrative for something that's absolutely appalling. So it's like watching a Hollywood Hitler film, you know, where the Nazis made all these films in the 30s and 40s to go against America, but they were all kind of, well, they're made by fascists, and they showed fascists like to hide behind good manners and all these other things, but what they're after is pretty dodgy, and they all look very conservative and hold up good values, but really the reality is those good values are hiding awful things, and they're there as a way to keep you from asking questions about those horrible values. All the manners are there as a defence mechanism. And that's what this film is. It's like old Southern manners. Yeah, they're there for racism. Which is why I was so hard on our hospitality earlier on. Because I knew I was coming to this one. So that's my morally reprehensible list. Done. That's the series done. I hope you enjoyed them all. I have other top 10 weirdo things coming up as well. Because I've thought of a few of them in the lead up to the end of the year. So there's still something to go. But just not the decade by decade list we've just done. So, but I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you soon. Right, bye for now.